Peace, peace, peace to the family. Peace, love, and light. Welcome, 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 y'all. Whew. Yes, indeed. Welcome back. This is going to be one of those episodes. This is definitely going to be one of them. This is going to be one of them episodes, y'all. You know what I'm saying? This is going to be one of them episodes for real. Y'all could consider this a precursor to the lecture we doing on the 31st, the Hip Hop Theorem. And I got a live later on tonight with Red and Wesley, so I hope I don't spill too much today. But ooh, there's a lot going on, and I just can't sit on this information. I gotta make some of this manifest, just to get it off my own chest, because it's just too much information. It's just too much information, and I think y'all deserve to know some of it. Y'all have been going along the journey with us, you know, detailing this information, and some of you guys find it interesting enough, you know what I'm saying, to come back and tap in. I feel for Diddy Twins Blue. I have 2 Starseed daughters. Protect them from vampires. Peace, Lordy. I'm going to do my best, you know, and in the best way that we can be accountable for one another, because I don't parent your children, is I can share this information with you, and you could either utilize it to be more adamant about protecting your children, or you could put your babies onto some game, because, you know, there's some things going on. You feel me? There's a war going on outside, no man is safe from. We need a proper perspective to step back, you know what I mean, from the bubble that we coexist in, to make an observation. Either you in this shit or you are standing beside it. Yes, I'm in the A. Yeah, please, Lordy, DM me, right? And we catch up. Shout out to my cousin Chris. I just seen you tap in. So this is one of those episodes that, you know what I'm saying, there's an overswelling of information that we need to get into, because it's just busting at the seams. And I don't even want to get into no chatty patty territory. But this is Gemini season, and it is the Gemini new moon. You feel me? Or we're still in the energy of the Gemini new moon. So I would advise you to speak up. You know what I mean? Utilize your throat chakra, but speak with conviction and speak truth. You know what I mean? And this is one of those moments that I bear witness to. There's just too much activity taking place to be quiet about. And a lot of it coincides with things that we've been saying for the longest. So I'm going to talk my shit, and y'all already know that's coming. You know what I'm saying? It wouldn't be an episode if I didn't. And it's only right, because I've earned the right to. And I give myself permission. I allow myself to responsibly talk some shit. Just give me a second. I'm just getting these slides together real quick. Whew. Oh, we got one. We got one today. Let me clear the air first, because it's Gemini season. And again, I did say that this was about setting new intentions, and I want you guys to catch the energy of this new moon. The Gemini new moon is very, very powerful, and it's not worthwhile for us to miss it, right? Because Gemini deals with communication, and Gemini deals with your mind, right? So this is normally the time when melanated people are forced to make their minds up. Case in point, I'll give you an example. 2020 5 years ago, 2020, during this time period, melanated people were being charged with emotions because George Floyd had been assassinated on camera, right? A few days ago, literally in 2020, he got assassinated on Memorial Day, during the Memorial Day holiday. And hopefully by this time, on your timeline, you guys know what the ramifications of Memorial Day is to melanated people, right? That's another quote unquote holiday that was created off of something that we did to observe our people, right? And yes, that is when the WAP song came out around the same time to offset that energy. When our people got mobilized into protest, let me show you why it's so prominent and preeminent that we did what we did in May of 2020 that threw the program off, because the world was on lockdown because of C-19. And they were telling you the social distance. They was telling you that it's going to kill you. They was telling you all of these scary things about this quote unquote situation. And it's just like the movie Sinners. We find out that there's no worse threat to our safety, security, health, and prosperity than white supremacy, right? You can give us vampires. You can give us C-19, my nigga. You can give us AI. You could give us any end of the world scenario that you think about. And the thing that always comes back, that's the preeminent threat that needs to be addressed in real time, is white supremacy, right? Or what I call white fragility, because there's nothing supreme about that. So white fragility, right, showed his face, and we were going through this whole George Floyd situation, right? Or the people, the majority of the people, because I still to this day have never seen the tape. And I was so focused on breaking the curve of C-19 by demonstrating, being outside and helping people that actually needed the help. I didn't really get into the program of what was going on with the gentleman. And, you know, don't take that the wrong way. I just do not watch snuff films. You know what I'm saying? I have been in 3 different altercations with the NYPD, and they attempted to put me in that chokehold on all 3 occasions and take me out. So I don't need to be reminded of it by looking at it on film. It's bad enough I seen what happened to Eric Gardner. That was the same chokehold. You feel me? Nah, I don't know what you're talking about. You should not watch the movie Sinners. I don't know what you're talking about with that. I wouldn't advocate for that. But yeah, I watched Eric Gardner, and I attempted to avoid it, but it was a 44 incident because the officer had the 2 D's on the back of his shirt. You know, D's are 4s. So when you see DD, like Dunkin' Donut, those are 44s. That's glyphs all through the place. Any DD, Dame Dash, that's a 44. Any DDs, pause. So I bore witness to the tape, and it was appalling, and I was reminded, you know what I'm saying, of the situation that I had undertaken, and it's not a healthy situation for me. You know what I'm saying? So I avoid it as many times as I can. I ain't watch it. I haven't watched it to this day. I don't know how people sat through 9 minutes captively engaged, right? And then how do you transmute that rage? The people did it by breaking the spell and the curse and coming outside and fraternizing with one another, right? Socializing, and they broke the spell, right? And the thing that compelled them to push them, the date was May 29th. When they did it, it was a Friday, and that's when the first solar flare hit. And the solar flare had not hit since 2017 prior to that. But an X-flare solar flare hit on a Friday, May 29th, and niggas went ape shit. Now, I was outside for that, right? I bore witness to when Atlanta started tearing up the CNN Center, and it went to Buckhead. So they wasn't tearing the hood up this time. They went to Buckhead. They went down P Street, and they was tearing them walls up. They was tearing it all up. And they had to bring the, they didn't just bring the po-po out there. They brought military out there because they got active. And then you guys know, well, maybe you don't, right? But the thing happened at Wendy's on University Avenue, exit 244. And the young man got bodied over there at the protest. You know, Atlanta was really going through it. They wasn't going through the restrictions of C-19, but they definitely was impacted by the protests, right? And this was the onset of BLM. This was the christening. This was the pinnacle moment for woke as a movement. And this is when they elicited the ire of the current administration and they created a culture war on an idea that does not have allegiance. Like, nobody's a card-carrying member of woke. Niggas don't got woke tattoos. It's not a gang. You know what I'm saying? It's an ideology, and you cannot go to war against ideologies because you can kill everybody, but an idea will live. So they're obviously gaslighting you in public once again, and people are participating in the ceremony, right? And to each his own. I'm just at a place in my life where I'm like, I'm not responsible to fix the things that I ain't break. You know what I'm saying? And I got a wake-up call recently, and I needed it because sometimes, yeah, we could be tripping on we could be smelling our own shit and don't know that we stink. Or we could be spending and wasting times on things that don't necessarily deserve our time and our attention. You feel me? Or we could just, once again, like I said, we could just be in public acting a whole fucking fool and not even knowing it until people point it out, right? That's part of it, you know? And then, look, my cousin is on here, right? And these are the people that know me all my life. This ain't my fake cousin either. This is like my father's mother's son. Like that type of cousin, a real cuz, right? Lil Chris. And Lil Chris is older than Jason and Danny. So Lil Chris is the closest age to us. Lil Chris, how long have me and my brother been having button heads, like having conflict like this? Lil Chris, can you comment in the chat? As long as you've known us, I'm sure that you probably would say that there has always been something there, a very unprecedented sibling rivalry. And, you know, when I told y'all, like, the movie Sinners was about us, that wasn't cap. I was attempting to frame it. Nigga, I'm just not saying this shit because I want to ride the wave of what the people is talking about at the moment. It's like, nah, I see our real life relationships in these fictional portrayals. And then while I was being taken to task the other day for some of my activities, somebody said something to me, and it was crazy. And it was like, oh, you they said I benefit from projecting myself in society as the good twin. And I'm like, as best as I can be transparent with you, my brother, I have many times told people that sometimes I'm red and sometimes I'm blue. That's why it's kind of like purple. And I have the ability to shift between the two, right? But that's because I know the dynamics of what each one of those identities entail. You feel me? I never named myself Damien after the devil. I didn't do certain things that my brother did to, you know, own the title of the Red One. And the Red One is like on par with the evil twin, right? Like, I've never lost the morality of the devilish shit that I've done. And not saying that he has. I'm just saying he embraced it. Feel me? I always insisted on maintaining a particular identity that you could come back to, right? But shout out to the Red Pill. And I love my brother. You know what I'm saying? It's just that we always don't see eye to eye. And at this phase of my life, like, I get frustrated because it's just been too long. You know what I'm saying? It's been way too long. And it's not a victim versus a volunteer paradigm. I'm not playing a victim. I'm just saying that I know in my life how much further I could have been with my platform, my agenda, and everything else that I have attempted in this career that I decided to embark on and other people followed me into. So I'm just saying, like, you know what I mean? And it goes into, like, nobody wants to hear it because, you know, like, when you on a highway and somebody's speeding and shit, and they dipping through the lanes, and you over in one lane and you're trying to follow, or you're attempting to follow the rules of the highway, but you like, I got somewhere to go, and everyone is driving the correct way, but then you see this person switching lanes and they dipping in and out, and then they taking off doing 90 plus, but the speed limit might be 85. And the minute that you pop out on that lane and attempt to do the same thing, them goddamn lights go off behind you and you get pulled over to the shoulder. You know what I'm saying? And, car gets searched and everything, and you get a ticket, and you're going to sit there and tell the officer, yo, I was speeding because I seen somebody else speeding, but you didn't see him. He got away. Nah, son, it really doesn't make a difference. You know what I'm saying? If you get caught, then you have to own the fact that you're out of pocket because you're following and not leading. So my mistake has been following and not leading. I'm an Aries rising and an Aries moon. So this balance between who leads and who follows in a relationship where you trust somebody to be leaders, but they don't necessarily lead for the whole, only for themselves, then yeah, you have to totally relinquish them of that overbearing duty. You know what I'm saying? And take matters back into your own hands. So, yeah, it's been real. It's been real, but it's a lesson. And I think that by sharing the lessons, we have an opportunity to grow as a people, as a community. Because I know that what I go through or what I've gone through is not a singular thing. Like, I'm not shameful of it. I know that other people may go through this. Like, who has a sibling that hasn't had sibling rivalries or butt their heads? Better yet, my nigga, who has twins or who's a twin themselves that can speak directly to that relationship that has been a recurring one that lingers since the time memorial? Because every creation myth dealt with twins, and those twins had conflict to the point where them twins took each other out majority time in most of those conflicts and those narratives. Just think about that, right? It never got to that point. So I don't have that level of a discrepancy with the relationship between me and my twin. We just don't always agree. And that's cool. It should be. But obviously, unfortunately, should I say, at this stage in our life, it's not, because it's in public and people are not comfortable, I guess, with what they see, especially when you're supposed to be disciplined, right? And I like to believe that I exercise discipline in one area of life, so I should be responsible to show it in all areas of life and not just one. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just saying openly, I want to do better, and this is a community project now, so if you guys see me doing something that might be out of line with the proclamations that I'm making in front of you, then you have every right to remind me of my oath and my obligation. You have every right to pull my coat. You have every right, you know what I'm saying, to be like, bro, that shit look crazy. And I will respond accordingly and not be in denial and not push back. I'm not going to make you pay the price for pointing something out. Feel me? You shouldn't have to pay the price for pointing something out, because the thing about, and I don't want to keep going back to the disposition of somebody's astrological chart, but I do wholeheartedly believe that that's who you are. At least if you're looking for a proper knowledge of yourself, you should go to places where the evidence is most prevalent. And your birth chart is going to tell you shit about yourself that, you don't got to assume. You can get a clinical diagnosis. You can do the proper audit that you need to. You could do the energetic audit that you need to based on your chart, especially based on where these transits are at that are impacting your chart in real time. So I know when Saturn's in Aries hit, this is when the situation took place in terms of somebody from the community, right, reaching out and saying, yo, I wanna make your communication in public, Aries, right? Well, Saturn is the whole aspect of you've been doing things, but you haven't been doing them right, right? And Saturn as a planet, as a disciplinarian planet, says that, you got to get your shit together or you're going to pay a price that you don't necessarily want to pay. Now, I know where it impacts my chart, so I can see directly what they're speaking about. I'm not going to speak about that online. Feel me? But I don't want the alternative. So I am forced to get my shit together, right? And I accept the challenge. So I do want to, before I jump into this other part of my conversation, I wanted to share with some of y'all that want to do new moon intentions, and this is not witchcraft. Just for the people out there that might be Puritans, the definition, when I looked up the etymology of God, they said that God meant invocations and libation. That's what the definition of it was, right? To know how to ask of the universe, how to properly prompt a prayer or proclamations. But I don't make prayers or proclamations, I make invocations. You know what I'm saying? So I just want to share with you so you can catch the new moon energy, because the new moon is about proclamations under the new moon energy. So give me one quick second. Here I go talking about this ain't witchcraft. It's not. It's not. These are time-honored traditions before religion even came around, right? We knew the magic of the spell of writing. Feel me? I don't have a number 2 pencil right now. This is a red pencil, and this is Mars energy. Today's a Tuesday, so it makes sense. But yeah, this is my book. This is my book of the notes that I write to myself, right? And it's highly recommended that you get parchment paper. Parchment paper, right? So you see the texture of this paper? This is parchment paper. You know what I mean? Parchment paper. Okay? Parchment paper. And you are not required. It's recommended that you write about 10 invocations. What type of book is this? This is called a grimoire. This is where I do my spells, right? But just, you can go and look for it. It's a book. It's a spelling book, yeah. It's a spelling book, right? Because I be writing, I'm a writer. I like writing and shit, so I need big pages. I need a lot of room. You feel me? And I be writing the shit out of shit. Yeah, so it's important. Like, I love writing. I think that, my penmanship is a form of art. Pen is mightier than sword, so there's nothing to me more important than the pen, right? Or the pencil. You know what I'm saying? This is how we get it done. And this way, I don't have to be stingy with the ink. You see all of this, like all of these goddamn, it's a lot of writing going on. But I'm a writer. I should be writing. But let me get back to the invocations, because this is what this is what I wanted to talk to y'all about. So I'm going to give you like 2 examples, and you guys can take it from there and make it personalized to yourself, right? Again, this is how to properly communicate with creative force during new moons, because this tree, right? This particular pencil was made from wood, right? A tree. animate object. It has life force in it. And then the lead in it is another element. So lead deals with Saturn. It's a heavy, heavy element. So when you are writing in paper, parchment paper in particular, you are embossing intention, utilizing I don't want to say extraterrestrial element and throw people off, right? An element that's connected with a planetary body that's not terrestrial, which is lead, and lead is connected to Saturn. You know what I'm saying? The parchment paper also is from tree paper, right? So it's from plants and trees, also animate objects, life force in them. And then you want to be fully intentional, right? No, I'm not left-handed, I'm right-handed, but I practice drawing and writing with my left hand, just like I brush my teeth with it and all of that too. So I can activate my hemisync. Because my father and my brother's left-handed. You know what I'm saying? And always thought that was cool to know how to write with both hands as opposed to being one or the other. So I got a mean left hand game. You know what I'm saying? It just takes me a little bit longer, but I could draw with my left hand. I can write with my left hand. Brush my teeth with my left hand. All that good stuff. Yeah, there's so many formulas in here. Jeez. I'm coming into contact with stuff. I'm like, woo. I need to do a whole lecture on one of these pages because that's why I be going in. 44 formulas and all that good stuff. But yeah, let me get back to basics. Let me get back to what I was speaking on. The intentions, it's recommended that we do 10 of them. You know what I'm saying? It's recommended that we do 10 of them. And I'm going to show you how to be very intentional and utilize, I think they call it adjectives, right? So I say I. This is how I start. I. And I write my whole name out. Right? Whatever your first, your middle, your last name is. Mine's Paul Eric Moreland. Right? Son of. So you're creating your coordinates, even though, of course, you're saying that you have a direct line to creator and they know exactly who was coming from. You want to be very specific, right? You want to be very specific, especially dealing with spirit realm. You want to be as specific as possible and give them coordinates and directions. It is a life hack, right? I, Paul Eric Morton, son of Annette Louise Thomas. That's my mama name. All right. Annette Louise Thomas. You could get all spicy and list her name. Because when you go and get a reading, this is the information that they ask you for, right? This is what they utilize to consult with spirit realm. So why wouldn't you utilize it consulting directly with creator? I, Paul Eric Moreland, son of Annette Louise Thomas, strongly invoke, right? Strongly invoke an improvement in my communication skills. Improvement in my communication skills with my brother. And then you gotta be specific because I got more than one, right? Philip Thomas Moreland, aka Damien. Hey, y'all love it. So that's one of them. That's an example of how to do it, right? But you don't want to share it with anybody. So I'm not saying that what I just did was null and void, but I got to do it again and do it in a different approach because technically you're not supposed to share it in the public. You know what I mean? And when you write it, you're supposed to leave it alone. And the theory, right? And I do call it a theory because sometimes it pans out earlier and sometimes it takes a little while longer. But on or around the full moon, which is a 2-week outset period, a 14-day period, you should possibly see some results from these invocations. But for me, sometimes it's taking 6 months, right? Just like a reading does. Feel me? Just like when you put in work after a reading. Sometimes it pop like that. Other times it takes a little while longer. You forget, and then you just realize that you are in the energy of your intention. You're like, oh, shit is working. So these are adjectives that you could use: strongly, swiftly, quickly, easily, right? Firmly, shit like that. Those affirmative proclamations are things that jettison and get your quote unquote things there a lot quicker. You want to be firm. You want to stand on business. You don't pray and beg and ask of the universe of anything. You command of it, but with respect, right? How would you talk to yourself is really, you know what I'm saying? That's really the metric on how you approach this. How would you talk to yourself, or how do you want to be talked to, right? If you was a God and you were quote unquote, answering prayers, and you opened that envelope, the one that you read, right, that you got to immediately, that's how you should write it, right? I'm very affirmative with minds and very upfront. You feel me? Because I don't believe that the creator's a softie. You know what I'm saying? I don't believe that the creator's emotional either. So I'm very poignant with my proclamations, and that's that. So I'm gonna leave that there. But yeah, get you one of these, man. Get you a grimoire. Get you a spell book. You know what I'm saying? I got all of the chakras on mine. They in proper rotation too. My shit's not upside down. You know what I'm saying? And it's that leather. It's that good leather. You can smell it. Whew. But yeah. So that's that. Let me get into this. So, child, get in here. Oh man, this segment is in, this segment is in strict journalistic integrity, right? We are doing our research and we're delving into some hot topics today because these are some preeminent situations taking place in our culture, and we got to focus on it. Plus, I got a lecture coming up on the 31st with Dr. Wesley and Red Pill called the Hip Hop Theorem. And there's a theorem that we have been hitting on for a moment now. And again, as we can see the quote unquote receipts being produced, I have to continuously drill down on it because I will be doing myself a disservice and the people who have taken this journey with us for multiple years as we have unpacked the conspiracy within hip hop. My special interest point has always kind of been the spell casted by Biggie Smalls and Puff, because Big is one of what I call the three kings out of the 44 resonators. There's a lot of 44 resonators. Technically, anybody who got blood in their body is a 44 resonator. Anybody who, like me, if you're Aries, whatever, rising, moon, sun sign, if you Aquarius. Now, all of you niggas got 44s, but there's specific ones. If I Google, right, I was doing research on 44 one day, and they said that Puff Daddy's a 44 resonator. They didn't use the words resonator, but they said that was his number. He, one of them sites of shit that be telling you, yeah, 44 is an angel number, and this is what it does for you. And if you see it at this time, all that stupid shit, and my bad, because at one point in my career, I held on to that information like it was really it. But it's not, but it's cool because it's a beginning. It points you in a direction. And they were showing that, they said that Diddy's life path number was 4 and he was born on the 4th. So they said he resonated with 44 strong, right? and I've already known this, but Biggie specifically, and the 44 or the three kings are what I call the dreamcasters. These are people's spells that we live in, or we live within their dream or the scope of their dream. And these 44, three kings are MLK, and they have king in common, they got 44 in common, and they have a dream in common. So MLK, Martin Luther King, I have a dream, right? Died on April 4th, 1968 at the Lorraine Hotel in Memphis. Right, he's a 44 resonator. Biggie Smalls, it was all a dream. Kicked in the door waving the 4-4. He's a 44 resonator. Three King. The next one, Barack Hussein Obama. Dreams of my father, 44th president. Right? These are the three kings of the 44 pantheon. Right? I can't throw Marvin Gaye. It's only three kings. And these are not people that we don't live in Marvin Gaye's dream. He did not template a reality for us that we participate in. He was not a trendsetter to the degree where he put something down and we followed it, right? That's not Marvin Gaye. We can't say that about him. You know what I'm saying? We can say that about MLK, B.I.G., and Obama. So I used to hyper focus on B.I.G. specifically because he's from my hood. And the very first lecture we did in 2009 was at the Fulton Street Senior Citizen Center, some shit like that. It was right there across the street from Putnam, where Biggs cut his teeth and made his legacy and legend known and everything. And again, this is shit that I grew up in, like, and people that I were interacting with them at the same time. We all shared mutual friends. You know, I've been in multiple places with these people on multiple occasions. You know what I'm saying? And we got to see this shit from up close, not from the TV, not reading a magazine, from being right there, right? For the most part. And, you know, always said like, yo, when Big and them came, you know, there was just so much that changed because of the energy that Big came and what it represented. Well, New York City itself is a 44 resonator, and I'll explain to you why. And it's very key because we're going through this right now, right? The color of A440 on the music scale, right? The chromatic color that coincides with the music scale that all of the music, the standard music is set to, is the color orange, right? Primary orange, secondary blue. So with New York being the empire state, you feel me? It is a 44 state bar none, but it is the preeminent 44 state because the team colors are orange and blue for all of the teams for the most part. Then when you go to Syracuse is the legend of 44. Let me see if I could pull it up here. Because of some real things that happened up there with some real people, melanated. This is not hypothetical. Ernie Davis made it the 44, right? Jim Brown made it to 44. All of they have something up there called the Legend of 44. 44 was such a prominent color in Syracuse that they got the zip code changed to 12344. So this is Syracuse. But when you talk about the Apple or the Empire State, right? That the entire Empire State, yes, is a 44 residence. Other cities that equal 44 in Gematria, Oklahoma, OKC, right? When you put Oklahoma in the Gematria, it equals 44 in a lot of different ways too. It has strong 44 energy. So when I see OKC and their uniform also is orange and blue, you know what I'm saying? I'm not thrown. I know exactly what I'm looking at. That's why I thought it would be real dope if the Knicks and OKC was in the finals, because then it'd be a 44 showdown in a 45 square year, right? But let me go back to the Big shit, right? So I was like, Big and Puff were both students of Catholic school. They both come out of They are products of Catholicism, right? Christian ideology, totally stripping the mind, right? A mental mind virus where you don't have no allegiance whatsoever anymore to the society or the community, because Christianity and Catholicism, first it teach you, it teaches you crash commercialism and materialism, because even though it presents itself to be very patriarchal, right? We know that some of the things that go on behind the wall of these institutions, right? This is what you call toxic masculinity, where it's hyper masculine to the point where it's homoerotic and feminized to a way in which that's not what men do. That's kind of what Christianity does, meaning that they say that it's patriarchal, but it's all men and no women. The heavy patriarchal shit that goes to that degree, right? Then what are men left to do to one another but dominate one another? So Christianity is a dominant hierarchy, and them priests is jumping on all of them little boys to come cross that motherfucking threshold because of the energy that institution represents, that they push femininity totally out. And it is a version of distorted masculinity, right? But also it's very commercial, it's very materialistic, right? So they usher in the age of materialism at the crux or the ending of the 5-star energy that was running hip-hop that dealt with Islam. And even though we saw that there was crass commercialism during that period, right? The gaudy chains, the gold and what have you. Wasn't nobody running around here with no motherfucking Jesus piece, right? And if they was, because Islam was totally forbidden to have that sort of expression. And it's not just Islam, it was run by 5%ers. So in the 5% theology, black man is God. So who would wear a white Jesus piece, right? And it was all good just a week ago until Ghostface did it. So then now that makes it a trend that even those who say that they God body are forced to follow. Same way that, niggas used to be rocking the Lazarus pieces and all of that. I seen God bodies do that downtown. I seen them get the 14 karat gold and they would get the Lazaruses and all that shit. But Ghostface and them niggas did it. They put on the white Jesus head, the white Jesus piece. So the white Jesus piece made by Jacob and Company was brought into hip hop by Biggie and Puff. And then when they brought the white Jesus piece in, it changed the entire energy of the quote unquote, the whole industry. Because now it was almost like the black man's capitulation to a so we wasn't just crossing over to do the commercial shit. We crossed the culture over and capitulated at the feet of a white deity and was like, we gonna hand hip hop to this. And then they put the white Jesus in the driver's seat, and that shit been driving hip hop for 30 years. So when hip hop has been dead, the epoch and the era that we saw that it has been dead and it has literally been in hell, it has been under the auspices of Christianity. And that's what Catholicism does. It's a death cult. You know what I'm saying? But Christianity within itself is a death cult because the Messiah is a stringy hair, bloody white man on the cross. And you are, for the most part, paying homage to a dead Messiah. Right? And again, I hope not to be disrespectful to anybody, but we got to teach, and you're going to get this work. And it's not personal. I'm just saying, let me work. Yeah, Nas wore Jesus piece. So let me say this. What I interviewed Nas, right? And this is the reason I became a journalist. And I hope my stories are not offset to you because I'm not pumping my chest. I'm giving you my story. I became a journalist because I used to read Source Magazine in 92, 93, 94, 95. And nobody ever asked my favorite artist, what his spirituality was. Because I would listen to Nas music and Nas said, I'm not a 5%. I don't believe in none of that. So I said, damn, well, Nas ain't a Muslim. So what is Nas? So I went and interviewed Nas. I think I got my Nas interview in 2003. It was the same year that it was, because I got it right after Jam Master Jay died. So whatever year JMJ died, that's the year that I got my Nas interview. Because I had to split my newspaper cover and put Nas on one side and Jam Master Jay on the other. And I caught a Chuck D interview right after JMJ's funeral. So I had to fit all of this into this November issue because he died in October. And this was the illest issue I ever did for Four Corners. But I got my Nas interview. And Nas told me that he would more so identify as Christian than anything else because of his mother. That's why he said God's son across the belly. Tupac even had the cross on his back, right? As Machiavelli. So that's the juncture point. And this is very deep. Because Tupac did not espouse any Islamic ideology. Tupac did not espouse any 5% ideology. Tupac espoused the Black Christos ideology, but still with a strain or a variant of Christianity is what Tupac identified himself with, right? And so did Nas, right? So did Nas. But when Big and Puff came in with that energy, it was a crass energy, right? And when Jay-Z took it from there and he becomes Hove, it becomes extra feminized and extra materialistic and extra crass commercialism, because that is the energy of the 6-pointed frequency of what that shit represents. You know what I'm saying? It's all material. It has no bearing on anything spiritual or anything off. You know what I mean? It's fake as fuck. I'm sorry. Sorry. So, yeah, and Biggie, you saw the passing of the Jesus piece, right? After, because remember when he crowns himself King of New York, that is a title that transcends just hip hop. You can't just call yourself the King of New York of the Empire State. And no king challenged it, no bureaucrat challenged it, no politician challenged it. He died with a lofty title called King of New York. And everyone who was attempted to sit in that seat has got ejected out of this shit. Every single one. You better watch out, Joey Badass. Right? Nobody wants that seat. It's a celestial seat. And Big took it with him. So you try to sit in that seat, my nigga, you're going to get flipped out of that seat. And I seen it happen to everyone who has attempted to occupy that throne. But let's get into this, right? Because the craziest shit that Pop Smoke had 2 days, right? The nigga named himself King of New York and he died 2 days later. Man, he rest in peace. But yeah, I was saying this shit 15 years before he got clipped. So again, this is why lack of information be killing our people, right? So this is the part that I find very interesting, and it's a personal pressure point that I keep hitting on. You know what I'm saying? And again, just to bring this whole concept of the 44, and I'm so very thankful to myself for just sticking with it. I watched some footage today of the Diddy trial, right? And the lady that was on the trial today totally cooked them, right? It might be a rap, right? But these things are too soon to call. But if you know anything about this, I can't even say lawful proceeding. Let's say it's a legal proceeding, right? Because it's not lawful, it's not set in the right venue to be lawful, but it's this legal proceeding and this mock show that they're having, this trial, right? This lady was cooking them. Capricorn, I forgot her name, Capricorn Clark, I think her name is. Her initials are CC, and she's the fake sister of Lauren London. Whole nother story, right? But she effectively tied him into extortion and kidnapping and everything else, right? She kind of is going to make the RICO case for the most part with the testimony that she's given. But one of the interesting things that keeps popping up is this fact that Puff chose to call himself Frank Black. Why I find that so interesting, right? So interesting that he would adopt the name of Frank Black. And one of the reasons that I have been doing my deep dives into making sure that I don't let this information just pass me by as regular is that when they adopted this name in this particular movie called King of New York of Frank White, right? The craziest thing ever, y'all, is that the court case that my mother, Sabi, and my aunt got prosecuted for, they got dragged through the courts of New York State by motherfucking state attorney Abrams, right? It was because of a court case. No, it wasn't because of the very first HIV case that Sabi had. He gave it to my mother because he was out of town. He was in Puerto Rico, I believe, right? So my mother diagnosed this client, and she diagnosed this client as having pneumonia, and she gave him the protocol that they would give to someone with pneumonia. My mother didn't know at the time what HIV was, right? Or AIDS, for that matter. So she gave him the protocol for pneumonia. This individual did not come to the Usha Herbal Research Institute. He sent a nurse from Boston, right? This individual was in hospice in Boston. Come to find out, though, that this individual's name is Frank White, right? So this is where she wrote the words. She created the copy. She went uptown and got the copy put into the newspaper, the Amsterdam News, right, in Harlem. And this is the copy. This is what was written. The shit that you see right there, the text, right? Mama did that. And it attracted the ire of Robert Abrams at the time, who was the Attorney General. And Dr. Fauci is the one who sent him, right, to prosecute them if they did not take that claim out of the paper, because they were just getting ready to do their AIDS scam, same way that they did C-19. They were just revving it up. At that time, AIDS only impacted the LGBT community of New York City for the most part, right? As Sabi almost got kicked out of New York City when he went on radio and tried to explain what was taking place. When you punctuate and you're going up somebody's anus and you're tearing the rectum wall and you're allowing feces to get into the blood, these are where these bloodborne diseases and these autoimmune diseases initially were coming from. So he was like, look, you can't take this is a health crisis, but then y'all don't have no deterrence to this lifestyle that's propagating whatever's going on. And they was like, nigga, you can't come on radio no more. But what they did responsibly, right, is they stepped out with them formulas and they started healing people from that community. After 2 weeks, the nurse came back with the prognosis and said this person went from HIV positive to HIV negative. And when they found that out, they doubled down and they started going directly to that community and helping people who were afflicted with that particular affliction, right? They were helping them come up out of that affliction. And instead of being celebrated and applauded and paraded around town, right, as the people who broke the spell, they got prosecuted, they got demonized, you know what I'm saying? They got ostracized by the community, not just the authorities. We're speaking about the community as well. Other healers that were there prominently at that time, they wanted to push all of them that they was banging on them, you know what I'm saying? Because Sabi came and he was hating on the stuff that don't work. And this is the stuff that the healers were doing and holding up. Chinese medicine, Indian medicine, you know what I'm saying? Carrot juice, shit like that. Again, no disrespect. No disrespect. I'm just telling the news. So, and I'm being responsible. And if y'all need me to name names, goddammit, because I don't want to be accused of being passive or taking shots, I'll say names, goddammit. But then y'all don't want me to be messy too. So I'm just like, let's leave certain things alone and just let's just tell it as it is. You feel me? Let's just tell it as it is. So those are the articles down there that you see in that documentation. This is the stuff my mother gave to Nick Cannon's bitch ass, and he has not produced a documentary yet. And I did say that, and I'm speaking very open. I'm not taking shots. I said Nick Cannon's bitch ass. You did hear that, right? Yeah. So these are the documents that he was given, right? They tried to, I ain't gonna get into that because I'm just divulging too much information that don't need to be told. But the documentations exist, the receipts are there, and there's more stuff, right, that she didn't share. Shout out to Mama Pill for being a legend and keeping good notes. You know what I'm saying? So this person, again, that they healed from AIDS, the very first person that got healed from AIDS was named Frank White. And this is what brought the ire of the United States government down on my mother and Sabi, right? And you guys know the results or the quote unquote the case, and the case is very controversial. And while we have always been led to believe in our lives that Sabi won, I've been shown different. I know that out of those three, the only one who can say that she won, and there's definitely proof to back that up, is Mama Pill. Right? I saw paperwork that it said Sabi and my aunt took a plea. And that's why they packed up shop and went to LA after that. You know what I'm saying? But that's neither here nor there. Y'all can figure that out. Do your investigative journalism. I'm sure that there'll be some documentaries coming. But the only one that they could say never took a plea and never stopped practicing, right, in New York is Mama Pill. Right? She beat her case. So find it very interesting, again, that right after that, in 1990, you know what I'm saying? In 1990 is when the movie comes out. Now, we know that the AIDS shit with Mama Pill and them took place in the 80s in New York. Feel me? All of that took place in the 80s. So they turn around and they do this film, this fictionalized film of this character, and they forever put the name Frank White into infamy, right? But there's so much here, right? When you look at the director of the movie, Abel Ferrara, let's see his other discography. These connecting and overlapping themes that I'm trying to show you, that this Christos energy is always going to pop back up, right? But before we do that, no. Let's keep going. I don't want to shift and lose focus, right? The actor known as Frank White was not born a real person. Ferrara does say that in that same interview about his father, you could say he was a Frank White type guy. He and his pals owned bars and after-hour places, he adds. They were like the guys in Goodfellas. So Abel Ferrara is an American-born director. You know, he got some street in him and shit. He's edgy, you know what I'm saying? Abel Ferrara has always lived on the edge. I'm going to show you a picture of him, and you can tell yourself, you know what I'm saying, that this is an edgy type of nigga, right? Yeah, this is the director. He's always been on the edge. You feel me? He's from the underbelly of areas of New York. He tells real gritty stories because he's from the grit. All right? He's an Italian, born June 19th, right? Would that make him a Leo? Or he's on the cusp, right? Controversial content in this movie. He uses a rendition of neo-noir imagery. A longtime independent filmmaker. Some of his best-known movies are the New York set grime crime thrillers The Driller Killer, Miss 45, King of New York, Bad Lieutenant, and The Funeral, right? Yeah, a Gemini Cups. This nigga got a lot of Scorpio in his chart, I bet. Chronicalizing violent crime in urban settings with spiritual overtones. Feel me? With spiritual overtones. So let's see one of his most famous films, right? That brings him right back. Boom. So when I'm out there tripping and I'm like, oh, I can make my connections with these 44 resonators. When you got kicking the door, 44 resonator himself, Frank White, right? The person that played Frank White in the movie is Willem Dafoe. Willem Dafoe plays this character in the movie called 444, Last Day on Earth. This why I was bugging at these sloppy ass researchers who was trying to say, oh, yeah, you started talking about 444 after Jay-Z. My nigga, you know how long I've been talking about 444 before fucking Jay-Z? And pointing out to you that there was a whole movie called 444 that you niggas was late on? Because I never saw nobody reference that. Lazy ass researchers. I'm going to show you how deep the 444 shit go. On May 22nd of 2017, right, we put Polite on blast and aired him out for the shit that he was doing in the community. I hadn't heard from him until he texted me. I was flying into Denver Airport on my way to Mount Shasta, and when I landed in Denver, I got a text from him, and he was like, yo, Jay-Z's trying to steal your swag, and he sent me a picture of the 444 posters that was going all up around Harlem, or New York for that matter. This when the community turned on us for Polite. So I was already wiping my hands clean in the community and turning a new leaf, doing new things with new friends. So the nigga had texted me and shit, and I was like, that's weird as fuck. He came out of character to do that. But why did he get convicted, or his case was caught 4 years and 4 months after? And I told him, I was like, bro, you just got hit by a scorpion sting. It might take a minute, but you're going down. 4 years and 4 months later, he caught the charge. And when you look at the case number, it got the 44 in it right away. Now, you go and read that yourself. Do your research. Because I ain't sitting up here, motherfucker, spinning towels. I'm giving you the step-by-step, breaking it down. So, again, when we look at 444, and then we go to the characterization of Willem Dafoe, and we see him also personifying himself in the movie The Temptation of Christ that was made by Martin Scorsese, right? But the energy of the character of Willem Dafoe could, you know, he put himself as Christ. He also put himself as Frank White. You feel me? Then you turn around and then you go and you say, but what's the energy of Jesus? Then you see, as I've been telling y'all with all earnesty, Jesus is a 44 resonator. Right? So there goes your 444 connection right there. You see it? It says in English gematria, Jesus, 444. Let's double that, because I say what? I say the way that we decipher these numbers is the numbers are a bridge. They're like what's operating behind the word that shows you the connection, like a magnet. Them two come together. They have a connection and a correlation. Jesus and Messiah both equal 444. That's why I say Jesus is the Messiah. Do you get it? 444 means the cross. It means the king. Every attribute that they would give you to say this is who Jesus is, they're just saying 444. And I have shown you on multiple occasions why they would say that. Because 444 represents a shape. And Jesus is a place marker cosmically if you know how to motherfucking do magic. That's it. It's not a person. It's a cosmic marker. That much it is. Feel me? Oh, shout out. I remember your son, Messiah. Shout out to Messiah. He must be grown now, huh? Yeah, so I'm just showing you these connections because my life is not going to be about proving that I'm not fucking crazy either. I'm just going forward. I'm just going to do me. I'm not over explaining myself, but I do take time to explain myself. I'm just not going to over explain myself. But then we take it here, right? And we say, oh, so Diddy's running around now calling himself Frank Black, right? And then, all right, so the overarching connection that I make as well to Frank White and this whole aspect of him naming himself Frank White or Francis coincided during this time period that we had Pope Francis representing the Catholic Church or Catholicism, right? And then we had this whole connection. I walked you through the whole shit. And I showed you how Pope Francis became the Pope because of San Francisco 49ers. And I walked it through before it even happened when the Super Bowl came back to New Orleans, where the last Super Bowl took place in 2013, when Pope Francis became Pope Francis after the 49ers lost, I was like, yo, they're going back to New Orleans. So this is the ending of this Pope Francis and the beginning of a new Pope. And I said that on February 9th. Well, I was saying it before the game even started, right? Because I knew the energy. And I'd be damned if on the day of the 44th day of the year, which was February 13th, that nigga did not catch the stroke and end up in the hospital. And a few months later, he got up out of here. But why did the new Pope, right, Leo the 14th, his middle name is Francis. And he is the predecessor of Pope Francis' ideology as a progressive. He's going to uphold the changes. He was voted the successor, not just by the conclave, but Francis wanted him to also, quote unquote, continue. Right? So I'm like, oh, this Francis shit is going crazy. I know exactly what I'm looking at because they're speaking about the Golden Gate energy that represents a few different things. But the Golden Gate energy damn sure represents Leo. Is the Pope's name not Leo? Look, in Gematria, his name equals 39. And in the 14th, 1 plus 4 equals 5. So he's 44. I'll show it to you. I ain't making it up. It just falls in my lap. Because ain't none of this cap. And the universe conspires for my success. And they don't want to see me looking crazy out here. So they be like, yeah, nigga. That ain't it. Hold on. Where is it at? I was waiting for the lecture and all that to share some of this. And I got a whole lot more. I just had to get this out of my book. Because it so much information keeps coming in daily. It's like, I don't want to have to do a 8-hour lecture. Then I'll be sitting on stuff and the shit gets old. And I'll be like, I want to share it. I want to share it now. And it don't be time. But it's all the way deep in my notes. Trust me when I tell you. And if y'all was there last Sunday for my last sermon, I showed it then. And I'll circle the block and I'll show it. Or just pull up to the lecture, right? Because it's too deep in my pictures and I don't want to stick with this. So, Francis, trust me, Francis in Jamaica, Pope Leo equals 39, and the 14, the 1 plus 5 equals 44. Trust me when I tell you, right? Trust me. And the Leo aspect is dealing with Tory Lanez connection of Daystar and Sunstar, who got stabbed 14 times. Trust me when I tell you, this shit sounds crazy. Trust me. I know it sounds crazy, but I be goddamned if it ain't what it is. It's cosmic energy just expressing itself in these different figures or figurines or these different symbols, but it's all cosmic energy. You know what I'm saying? So I look up Frank Black, who Puff is calling himself now, right? Or who he has referred to himself in the situation as Frank Black. So I looked up the individual. I was like, all right, well, who's Frank Black, right? There got to be a Frank Black out there. And sure enough, right? Y'all ready? We got Black Francis, right? We got Black Francis. Frank Black is a man called Black Francis. But not just that. He's Black Francis in the Catholics. So I'm like, what a coincidence. After all this time of me tying this energy, dealing with Puff into a Catholic, Jesuit type of ritualistic, OTO type of motherfucking sex ceremonies that this nigga was engaging in, right? Because he may have been initiated into these sex situations from the door. His principal got arrested for essay. You know what I'm saying? The principal of his all-boy Catholic high school at the time got arrested for essay. And many people around him got touched. And this nigga obviously got bit by a vampire and got to doing a whole lot of biting. Pause. But the person that he names himself after is named Black Francis, right? In the Catholics, right? Or Frank Black in the Catholics is specifically what he's named, right? Frank Black in the Catholics, also known as Black Francis. You feel me? Who's an Aries, born April 6th at that. So I just find this very interesting, the way that we see energy moving and these overlapping connections to movies and how these movies speak specifically to what's going on right now. Check out Abel Ferrara's discography, Cat Chaser, China Girl, right? You all know what that is. Body Snatchers, Dangerous Game, yeah. The Addiction, right? It's like this nigga, these movies sound like the soundtrack to the goddamn case going on. His very first movie was a porno. No judgment, right? I'm not speaking as a Puritan. I'm just looking at the energy of what we're looking at and being like, well, goddamn, there's a lot of overlapping connections. You know what I'm saying? Like, is this nigga directing your life? Yeah, hella twisted. And these are the people who we tap into. Nicki's film was 9 Lives of a Wet Pussy was the first film. 9 Lives of a Wet Pussy, right? The Driller Killer. So he was drilling before the Drillers. The Driller Killer came out in 1979. Miss 45, again, we are in a 45 square year, right? 2025 is 45 square. Fear City, China Girl, Cat Chaser, King of New York, Bad Lieutenant, Body Snatchers, Dangerous Game, The Addiction, The Funeral, The Blackout, New Rose Hotel, Go Tales, 444, Last Day on Earth. Welcome to New York. Hey. Yeah. Yeah. Right? We don't even know what we be tapping into. Look, his television credits, Miami Vice. The episode was called The Home Invaders. So Capricorn got on the stand today and implicated Diddy as being one of the people who broke into Kid Cudi's crib. She also implicated a homeboy of mine's. And this is where the shit hurts, but this is where it comes full circle and is part of the circle. So when we were in Best Side at the time during Biggie's reign and his run, right, we overlapped some of the same friends because niggas from Junior Mafia were people who we intersected with, right, in terms of the boosting shit, right? We took some of them brothers who was on, they wasn't directly JM, but they fucked with JM, and we took them with us, right? And so we've always had the connection with people that was inside of that particular circle. And one of the brothers that I used to take boosting with us is named Ruben. And they know him as Big Rube now. And he, along with D-Rock, they continued their relationship with Big relationship with Puff after Big got clipped. Now, it's kind of known, especially in the hood side of things, that niggas wasn't really fucking with Puff after Big got clipped because Big had open issues with Puff, and everyone in the hood knew that before he got clipped, right? Everybody knew that. Big was telling the whole hood, yo, I'm leaving the label, and this is how I'm gonna make the move. And it's almost like it was a snake move because he was telling niggas, and if Puff didn't know, then he damn sure knew, based on the fact that the streets knew, Puff had to know. So yeah, when D-Rock is implicated as sending Big to the club and all of that, I mean the whole hood. When I say the whole hood, yeah, I wasn't rocking with Puff after City College either. That was 1990, 91, but we all were there captively as he started his career and brought in Big. So if you're from New York, y'all, we all knew Puff's name before music because of the City College incident from 1990/91. Then we knew Puff's name because of Jodeci. Then we knew Puff's name because of Mary J. Blige. So y'all gotta I'm just trying to give you some context, my niggas, about how long he has been a preeminent part of our reality. We talking way before Big. Niggas clearly knew who this, read all of his motherfucking life. We went, look, this is the first nigga that we all grew up with and went through his whole mogul phase with. From being a nigga who was responsible for 8 people losing their lives at City College, who was on the front page of the Daily News in 1991. That's
why some niggas don't want him to be wrong.
Yeah, so a nigga's entire reality is tethered on this man either being right or them having to throw their entire lives away. Yeah, shout out to King Simon. He was there at Kent City College, right, doing security detail. So it was tragic what happened at City College. And a lot of people, it was very upsetting, right? Because it was disastrous and melanated people lost their lives and there was women involved. So they was calling him the devil back then. Real talk. He caught 8 bodies and was unscathed. Lost his job at what you call it? At Uptown and got upgraded by Clive Davis, the biggest devil of them all. He was like, your commitment is to catching your people's body to this degree? You perfect for what we got going on over here. Right? This is how you make your buttons and cut your teeth. In these realms when they're looking, who is the ones who we need to bring in and cultivate them to a degree that they could go out there and galvanize a generation for 30 years and be the controllers, the directors, look, the generators, the operators, and the destroyers of paradigms. Because he destroyed consciousness in New York and he operated, right, a honey trap. And he generated an entire cultural currency by commercializing hip hop to a degree that it has become a multi-trillion-dollar industry. You feel me? So it was kind of understood, like I said, in the hood that Big was going to leave the label. You know what I'm saying? And then the whole hood was in an uproar because he was in LA for a while long when he initially was supposed to just be out there for a few weeks. Everyone was asking, why is Big still in LA? Don't he know? This was the conversation when he was alive. Niggas was like, yo, this shit don't make no sense. Who's responsible? So by them, like, lightheartedly trying to implicate an individual like D-Rock to be kind of, I don't know what their implications are. And I also don't know why they are openly implying that these individuals were complicit with crimes, but nobody's on a RICO. Right? So when we look at the definition of RICO, then we need to say, damn, does this qualify? If there's really a RICO involved, why are the higher ups, right? Why are the higher ups not the ones that are being included in the RICO? Because they are the ones who potentially benefited, financed, right? And possibly have turned a blind eye to whatever activity that they are alleging took place, right? But we damn sure know that there was a conspiracy of, quote unquote, him being in cahoots and them being in cahoots with him for galvanizing a culture that was based on criminality, if you will. And I'm just saying that to say, at a time when there was a war on drugs taking place, but major corporations were bankrolling a publicly traded company who was putting out music that was advocating the selling of narcotics and the catching of bodies, right? They've been in cahoots. They've been in business with one another for quite some time. So if there's any RICO, why is it not on the people who knew that the quote unquote, the product that was being sold from said company was a product that was promoting criminality? And that was the whole shtick of it, right? So you hit a bad boy with a man act because the bad boy said he just want to act bad.
Bad boy and the boy is in the main list.
Yeah. So look at the two Scorpios. You get the bad boy and then you get the boy. Right? Both Scorpios, and based on both of them, we are seeing the tearing down of what the industry once was. This time next year, it will not be the same thing. Because I'm confident that UMG lawsuit, even if Drake fucks up and they kick that lawsuit out, they have already opened Pandora's box by allowing him discovery. You feel me? Or setting a precedent. If, in fact, he loses and they close shop and they know where to tighten up the holes and no one is ever able to go back and get any level of discovery or redress from these record companies, then we've all lost. We've all lost. So in the weirdest of ways, Drake can still play crusader of the culture by taking down, right, his Jewish brethren who have been running the biggest racket. So when you talk about RICO, and the definition is racketeering. Racketeer Influence and Corruptions Organization Act is a federal law designed to combat organized crime and racketeering, right? And again, when you take on the energy of organized crime, you feel me? Like I said, look at Abel Ferrara's discography, right? This is the person who made King of New York, who fictionalized the name Frank White. Frank White was the very first AIDS patient that Sabi and my mother healed in the 80s. Come from Boston, he had HIV. He was part of the LGBT community. You understand? That's who Frank White was. So they fictionalized and criminalized and scandalized the character's name. Later on, it come out in the movie 1990 and call it Frank White. And when I say Frank White, you automatically think the gangster. And then hip hop moves into this mafioso phase. Now these niggas got a RICO. Right? The people who were prominently responsible for the culture of mafioso becoming a mainstay in hip hop. Right? I mean, how many of you niggas remember Wu Gambino? I thought so. Right? And then us understanding, once again, this overlapping energy of how they fictionalize the characters that are preeminently placed in the culture that have done fuck shit. So Denzel won an award playing the officer Rafael Perez who killed Big. And we cheered him.
That's your favorite.
And we lionized them. And y'all niggas love it, right? And this is the reason that I get accused of talking to niggas crazy. You feel me? Because no matter what the fuck that I do to point these things out, you still won't let go of your idolization of the people responsible for your nightmares. Now, fuck that not for Malcolm X shit. Why would they award him anything for Malcolm X? Why would they lionize that? They're going to lionize this and we're going to champion it. Same way you do with the president. Because we fall for it every single time, right? All they got to do is remix something. And they learned that from the remixer himself. So,
Looking for your slave masters to champion your great.
yeah, you looking for your slave masters to champion the great ones.
That's their whole point.
I'm like, nigga, what are we doing here? So Rafael Perez, who was part of the Rampart scandal, right, along with Davey Mackey, is implicated as the ones who set up, quote-unquote, B.I.G., and they blame a dude named Amir Muhammad for it. But these are the ones. And a guy named Chuck Phillip, who worked for the L.A. Times, came out with the BS story that later on, I think that's the shit that Keefe D runs with. And they throw the whole case off because Valletta Wallace was about to win a civil lawsuit from Los Angeles because of the LAPD. They would have awarded her $500 million. And in the article, they say it would have bankrupted the county of LA because LA had to pay her a prorate for every day that Big Guy was dead, up until the point that they found out that the LAPD was responsible for it. They had to pay her his show money. So meaning that if he was dead for 1,000 days, they had to pay her what he would have made every single day, those days for his performance fee. So let's say he was making 500 M's, 500,000. That's what they had to pay her times 1,000. Whatever it was, it came up to the percentage that she would have bankrupted the city of LA. And then automatically the feds stepped in and they started this BS story, and that's the shit that Keefe D ran with, and now he's locked up. Right? And Rafael Perez is home. In the cut. Right? And they protect their own. And they have like 8 different documentaries blaming different people for that body. I ain't never seen so many people get blamed for one body.
And we still don't know.
And we still don't know who did it. Right? And you'll never know. And they playing y'all, and they just dragging it along. And Big said, I rely on Bed-Stuy to shut it down if I die.
You mean Bethany Stuyvesant?
Big got killed, allegedly, set up by Crips. And then when Junior Mafia came home, they became Crips. So when someone is the king of New York, right, and they take that title, and they, and they ask, yo, so who won the East Coast, West Coast war? You feel me? And I feel you, Oba, right? And these are the reasons that we have to have these conversations or observations. He who kills the king becomes the king. You feel me? So you got this weird connection. Initially, they said that it was no, it wasn't. They said it was the Bloods because they was putting it on the death row people. But then New York becomes Blood, right? But then Junior Mafia is the only ones at that time that pick up Crip, and they become Crip in that area because they say that the Crips via Zip was the people who supposed to be holding them down. And that Zip connection is, because that goes back to the Keefe D situation. And they say that Keefe D said that he's seen Zip take the biscuit from inside, and then he had the phone call from Puff and paid him a bit. Bro, this shit is deep. But I think by the time this is finished, they're going to pin everybody on Puff. And he's just going to be the mascot. He's going to be the voodoo doll that they put all of the pins in. Yes. So the Bloods got credit, and they dominated New York after that. Immediately afterwards, it was adopted, and quote unquote, they became the preeminent force. And the only deterrent or pushback initially that they had is when Junior Mafia had brought that over. Then it spread into quote unquote, into the 90s, right? Into the Yard Mines and all of them. They started picking up Crip. And then, you guys later on, you got the Woos and it's together and all of this crazy shit. But yeah, all of that. We never looked at it from that perspective, that the gang infusion takes place when New York loses its quote unquote, its cover. It loses its invincibility, right? It loses its it can't be touched status. And then it loses its we don't do gangs over here because it becomes a gang proliferation, and then people adopt it because it's supposed to be quote unquote sexy, right? And it was anything but that, because when the Blood started in New York, it was a cutting campaign that brought, like, they were slicing faces. They was doing wild style shit. And nobody thought that it would survive, right? Because it was too crazy. But then it did. And I was at the meeting when T. Rogers came over on 125th in Madison and the Masonic Temple, right? And ate them niggas' food. Ate their food. I was there for that. Shout out to Supernova. He was there for that. Right? And then, Yeah, he ate OG Mac's food though. He ate their food and told them they wasn't real Bloods. And Bloods don't do that. And he explained to them that the original inception of the Blood was esoteric and Masonic in origin. And shout out to my brother Josh, because he was there on Rikers Island when they taught OG Mac and they attempted to implement the Masonic secrets inside of it. And all things get lost in translation when they get in the streets. So, yeah, man, the fallout is so crazy, and I've never seen nobody approach it from that perspective. You know what I mean? But these are some of the things that kind of went down, and this is like the trajectory of what it is that we're looking at. You know what I mean? The way that they play out. And the shit is just crazy. Because I'm hearing the craziest shit ever, man. You know?
Niggas want to be Romans so bad.
Yeah. Yo, they mentioning my nigga Ruben in the case, man. Big Rube, shit. This shit is coming back to Brooklyn. It's coming back to the Star. It's coming back to all of those lost pieces post Big, you know, when the city fell. And yeah, it just became, yeah. And then to the point where even last week during Big's birthday, you had the battle the day prior with Joey and Daylight. And Joey is still taking slugs and arrows. They're utilizing this whole era, this whole trajectory. The soundscape of the music was all about the East Coast, West Coast beef, because they was playing Hit 'Em Up and they was playing Big Shit, Get Money and all of that. But his Achilles heel was always, you was in the tub with the nigga. And then he's like, I seen Kendrick in the tub. So this shit has gone nowhere and we can't get away from it. And every battle that has happened after that has tied and originated to this first inception of this particular battle. And you got a nigga running around calling himself Frank Black. Was really Black Francis or Frank Black and the Catholics is the nigga he named himself after. How you do that? But y'all don't got no steam for no Catholic. Y'all don't even understand the connection. This shit might be going over your heads. You're like, what does that have to do with anything? And I'm not being facetious. I'm just like, God damn. For real? Do you even know how we got here? Y'all don't even know who the ops are. But y'all steadily fighting with one another, right? The African niggas want to convince the niggas who was indigenous that they was here, they got on the boat. Both of you niggas got hit over your heads with a club called Jesus. And they rolled you niggas into a blunt and smoked you. It don't matter who, both you niggas have a same op in common, and I have yet to see the community fucking rally themselves, right? To say we're gonna put in that work. But y'all want to fight one another about who got here first or whose land this is and all of that craziness. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, and niggas occupied their time here selling crack to pregnant mothers. What difference do it make at this point? If you embody a slave mentality, if you are under control of the church, and then they come in with some new version of that shit now, because this Christian nationalism is not Catholicism. This is evangelical. They call it dominionism. Look it up and see what that shit is about. You might be begging for Catholicism back, because at least they're putting figureheads in front that appear to be progressive and they're speaking peaceful, right? Pope Francis was a peaceful speaking motherfucker. He never advocated war, nothing. And so is Pope Leo. But we know what goes on behind the scenes with Catholicism or Jesuit, the military aspect of it, right? The suppression of indigenous peoples in, all over the world. Them stepping on shit. Them stepping on energy mounds and harnessing our ancestors, right? True magic. Oh, but you better research the dominionisms, the evangelicals, and these people that's in the White House right now and what they talking about. Because they're being clear and coherent. We're not even talking about Project Esther yet. We steady talking about Project 2025. Nigga, they off that. They on Project Esther. We haven't had an open conversation. That's what I'm saying. Come to the lecture. Because I can't do all of this online. The link is in the bio. Oba, you absolutely right. And the reason and the again, the only remnant of resistance that existed amongst our people in our culture was East Coast, right? New York in particular, because we embraced an aspect of intellectualism and we embraced Islam to a degree where it was still counterculture and revolutionary. That spirit got crushed out west. And the rise of gangster rap and pimp and hoe culture is a testament to the fact that it got crushed. But what we're seeing now with Daylight and the West Coast, all-stars that went against Joey, right, from K-Dot and the rest of them, is that they are implementing a slant of consciousness back there, right? But it's revolutionary to a degree that it still has elements of gangsterism in it. And they don't necessarily denounce the elements that they exist amongst that might be low energy. They attempt to embrace it and lift it up because they're all in one community. So they're not outside of it. They're inside of it, but they're still espousing an aspect of consciousness that may be more aggressive than the East Coasters are used to say, oh, that's conscious as well, even though it's not backpack. The Black Panthers were West Coast, but those are the ones that got stomped out in order for the gangsters and the hustlers to, do what they did in the West Coast, nigga. Like, they can't be Black Panthers and Bloods and Crips. Bloods and Crips, they call bastards of the party. After the Panthers fell, their cubs become Bloods and Crips. But these are, people with a revolutionary anger, but no direction in them. You know what I'm saying? It's not to police the community, it's to hold the community under siege. Because now you are raping the community for resources, of which now becomes the women and the children and the fiends. Right? So you're not protecting or bigging it up or picking it up. And I heard Whack 100 saying this the other day with motherfucking Charleston White. So I ain't telling you some shit from my perspective. I'm telling you what one of their OGs said. Fuck that shit. That's what he said about it. Right? If you ain't born into it, why would you adopt it? It's a scourge. Yes. And when I went to Oakland, that's exactly what they told me. It's like, nigga, we don't got gangs out here. We don't bang red and blue. We don't do that shit. And Oakland reminded me more of the Bronx, not just New York, like the Bronx in the late 80s, early 90s when niggas was selling crack. That's what Oakland reminded me of. Them niggas was selling crack on MacArthur at 4:30 in the morning with choppers in the street well. Like, like where the tire and the curb is at, choppers. I was like, nigga, they had on bubble gooses out there, son. 5 in the morning. I had got off the mega bus on MacArthur. I had to go in a motel over there and shit because my connect that I was supposed to link with, nobody was answering the phone. So I had to. I was in the hood. That shit was crazy out there. They changed the police shifts at 4:30. I had never seen militarized police vehicles like that, even coming from New York until I got to Oakland. And I was like, this shit is a war zone? And it was like, yeah. It's like, man, it's like, niggas told me that Oakland was conscious. I thought this. Nigga. Then I was staying in the Airbnb across the street from where what's the name got his head blew off. Huey Newton. Shit was crazy. Shit was crazy, man. Shout out to the Bay. I love the Bay. The Bay has the because the Bay is crazy. The Bay feels like Houston, and in the Bay, is some aspects of the Bay that feel like the Bronx. Feel me? Yeah, that's what Wax said that. Wax said that more than three you consider the gang. You know what I'm saying? You can't congregate. I knew about the injunctions. Nipsey told me about the injunctions. He couldn't travel from one hood to the next. And his contract went bad when he was at Epic because he could not get support of LA Radio because the LAPD told him that this is considered to be like gang music, right? And this person is making this music is known to the police, and they have a injunction on them. And he's talking about Nipsey. So Nipsey couldn't get his music played, and he couldn't do shows in LA. So the label had to drop him because the single didn't do anything. And that's when he was forced to get back on his independent grind. So yeah, man, this story, because this shit gonna go back to Laura London, and Nipsey gonna pop up in it. And, you know, there's a lot of shit that's gonna come out. You feel me? And shout out to Oba. I see the wisdom in you, brother. You know what I mean? I see the wisdom in you. And I love the fact how you and Dot was able to remain so middle path when these narratives was playing out. And now you have the ability to pivot in which way that you choose to. And I have to acknowledge that. You know what I'm saying? Because, yeah, some crazy shit finna come out. Yeah, they are. Absolutely. 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 They're going to tarnish the name. You know? They're definitely going to tarnish Laura London's name. And then they're going to make all sorts of suggestions and implications. And the streets is going to get messy. You know how they do. Right? So, yeah, handlers, you know, and you can kind of see it when they started ushering Homie in to the Rock Nation brunch and all of that, put him on GQ. You know, the minute that you get that light and you let them in, it's like the vampire shit of sinners. You know, the minute that you open that door, my nigga, it's game on. And if you're not spiritually consecrated and protected in a way in which that you can fight that shit astrally, or, you know, your ancestors is banging for you, or, again, that you have spiritual protection and your warriors is going to war, you don't know what you up against, my nigga. Yeah, and Nip stood away from them labels for so long, knowing what he knew. And the minute that he capitulated, the minute that he inked that, the minute he put, then I think he compromised something cosmically in terms of his covering. It had to be something in that contract that kind of fucked up whatever his cosmic shield was. And then people rocked him to sleep and walked him right into a trap, right? And when you compromise your energy, it don't gotta be a far-reaching conspiracy, nigga. Like your energy, your force field falls, and anything can happen. Your blind sides are now exposed, and that's where shit creeps in. That's why they said Shitty Cuz came through the alley 2 or 3 times from the blind side. From the blind side. You understand? That is indicative of how spiritual shit takes place symbolically, and you can see shit creeping. That's how the demons move, nigga. Yeah. Shout out to Angelique. You know what I'm saying? And I don't want to be messy, but a nigga told me that I'm taking too many pot shots and I'm not being direct enough, right? So I'll tell you, I don't want to be messy. But Angelique was not fucking with Lori. from the door, and she told us crazy shit. You know what I'm saying? So I was always looking out of a side eye. Is that the word? And I don't know the young lady. I've never met her. You know what I'm saying? And I know people who said that she is an amazing person. She got wonderful energy and what have you. And then I've heard the opposite. But we finna find out some things that are going to open up scabs and wounds and create more overarching and overreaching implications and conversations. And especially when they get Jigga Man involved and they bring him into, you know, whew. Once they get, you know, Jigga has entered the chat. And so we got to tear down all of our wallpaper, and we have an opportunity to reset and do shit over because everything is infected. It's all fucked up. We got to throw our whole youth away, damn near. And maybe that's a good thing, right? Because as much as our youth has done for us, it's also impacted us in ways in which, you know, we kind of still got a crutch. It's shit that we need to overcome that we haven't yet because we're still holding on to the malware, the bad programming, the shit that's behind the shit that you see. Yeah, the music is real colorful and glitzy, but what's the underlying message in the music? And I'm using that analogy to say whoever puts their energy into something, when you open yourself up, because with music, you arrest the subconscious, all of that shit goes down and you accept everything. The same way that they can embed messages in the music, you're also accepting the energy of said performer, especially when they're cosplaying to be something that they're not, and you're buying into it. You also are fucking up your aura.
Illuminati, they want my mind, soul, and my body. Secret society trying to keep their eye on me. Anunnaki want the gold on my body, and these hotties want the soul in my body. It's like I'm Rocky in a cold with a shotty. The wrist is rocky and it's cold like it's hockey. They said this can't be pop. Simeon Togo, my ninjas can't be stopped. Is this by chance or not? They banned you from TikTok where you ninjas is known to dance a lot. Did you know they in Africa sitting at the round tables like they Lance a lot? Talking about France a lot. They finally said, man, cancel that. Like Nino told that fancy dot. Get your ass blocked like candy shots. 9 nations made families so lot. They told France to rot. If they try to stop their plans to flop, they get banned from blocks that was once a candy shop. All of this happened and no cannons popped. This was around 2023, right before Shannon popped.
I was looking for a different video. I was listening to a different video. I was looking for a different video, but I had to let that one rock. Again, Hip Hop Theorem, the Hip Hop Conspiracy Theorem, May 31st. It's going to be explosive. Me, Red, and Wesley. The link is in the bio. This is going to be a webinar on Saturday. And yeah, we bringing it. You know what I'm saying? And shout out to my brother, Oba. We definitely have to get a webinar, a lecture, something, and you know, you have multiple books. There's so many things that I need to speak to you about, you know, in a good interview setting so that people can benefit from this cloth, because you are just a repository of information. And I think right now is a perfect time to go back into that bag, you know, especially with them speaking about all of this mismanaged magic that may potentially be taking place. Yes, KTL, Sharif and Wesley will be on with us later, I believe. 8 p.m. we doing something, right? Shout out to my brother King Simon. I'll be doing something with him shortly as well. Yeah, Oba, the people need to hear from you. I need to catch up and dialogue. There's so much we need to catch up on. Shout out to Dot. Shout out to the entire Urban X family. We miss you immensely. If just a portion of what I'm doing can match up to the way that you kept them lights on and you kept that light bright and you shined it. If I could just do a portion of that and play my part, then that's enough for me. Then I'll be humbled. You know what I'm saying? Because y'all really did that shit, man. Damn, y'all did that. You did it in a way in which has never been done. And it's impossible to recreate because it was father-son, number one. And, for those of us that don't have that dynamic, we only could have observed in the fullest of respect. Like, yo, that's how you do that. You know what I'm saying? So, shout out to my brother Black Dot. Shout out to Oba. Shout out to all of the KTLians, all of the alumni, and we look forward to seeing you, man. This is an amazing time, and it's a crazy time as well, because things are coming full circle, and there's so many receipts that kind of tie up the things that we have been speaking about and maybe sounding crazy in public for all of these years. But thankfully, we stood on business, 10 toes down, because now the receipts are here. It's come full circle. But for the strength of, I don't want to be right on the strength of, all of the wrongs in our community. You know what I mean? It's nothing to gloat over, because it still is evidence of, how long we have been infected and impacted by fuck shit. And we need to speak about healing now. Like, how do we get out of this? How do we break these cords? How do we do a proper spiritual cleansing if we have been embossed and enthralled in this energy for 30 plus years? Do we know what type of water we've been slow cooking in? Have we any idea? Do you think that you don't need to get cleansed of that energy? You feel me? I don't want that energy on me necessarily, but it's part of my reality. It's part of my childhood. It's part of my my upbringing. They was playing big the other day. They was playing Hypnotized, I think this morning. Like, I cannot foresee going forward and going ahead and not being able to access the data set. Shout out to, I forgot the brother that was on Black Magic with Sharif the other day. Out of respect, right? Out of respect. I don't want to tempt his name because I don't want to jack it up. But y'all know what I'm talking about, right? The European brother that was on, he was speaking about accessing data sets, and going into our memory banks. Profound information. And it's the same way that I feel. Like, how can we erase those data sets? How can we reset them? Nipsey was building his own monopoly board by buying up the block with company, police. No, they didn't like it. There's a lot of things that we can say that he didn't like, but the hood didn't like it either. But the OGs didn't like it. So, again, we get those situations where there's mad gats pointed at one person, and, this person got a reason, that person got a reason, this person got a reason, that person got a reason, right? What if all of them reasons come together, right? Are we able to stomach that? That the niggas who we look at as the real ones, the hitters, is actually working with them boys and doing their work. And it's been that way, especially out west. And that's no disrespect. You can Google and they'll tell you that LAPD is the biggest gang because they got actual gangs inside of it, right? Nigga, I got instructions when I got out there about what not to do when I'm out there that I used to do on the East Coast. They're like, yeah, don't make these mistakes. Yeah, you fighting with the NYPD and all of that. Yeah, don't think that you're going to come out here and do that shit. That's not recommended. These ain't the people that you want to tassel with. You need to be very aware, right, that these niggas will ghost you. And they was talking about the LAPD. And, yeah, I had to, you're right. Don't wear this when you're around here. Don't do this. They told me don't jaywalk. That was one of the main things, right? Yeah, you think this is New York and you could just walk in the streets how you choose to. They's like, don't jaywalk. That shit right there is a big enough of a violation that you're gonna get the police on you. You're gonna attract LAPD's ire. They know that you're not from here. Yes. Mind your business and keep your circle small. I didn't run with nobody when I was out there. I always moved around by myself. Right? And I mind my business. I was in mad hoods. Like, I would be in a Crip hood with all of this on. Because I don't, sometimes I knew which hood was what. But I'm a New Yorker. I still walked everywhere. I didn't have a vehicle. I was walking everywhere. And I'd be in niggas' hoods, with the wrong attire on. And they be like, we know who you are. You know what I mean? Like, we seen you nigga on YouTube, but you gonna get a pass because we know that you don't know, right? Or your energy ain't like, you know what I'm saying? I'm not in a hood like I'm a gangbanger and shit like that. I had on motherfucking crystals and walking sticks and, nigga, I got all these crazy ass colors on. And I used to live in Baldwin Hills, so I'll go to the gym. Where I'm at is Blood. Then I walk up Crenshaw to go to Black Diamonds by Nipsey and them, right? Right by Crenshaw and Slauson, and that shit is the 60s. I'm like, nigga, then I'm walking through all of these back blocks, and I see all these fucking pretty-ass houses, and they telling me that this is where the gangsters at. I'm like, nigga, what? What are you talking about? Are you serious? For real? Nah, because when Nip used to be in New York, 08, 09, shit like that, when I was around him, that nigga had on red every day. Like, wild red. Like, red sweatshirt with the red hat, right? And no blue flag. And I be like, nigga, I thought you was one of them. Right? He was like, I am. He was like, it's in the laces or shit like that. And they come out later with a song called Blue Laces. And I was like, I get it. I'm like, the shoelaces, nigga? It's going down to the shoelaces? So, I can't be that fashion conscious when I'm out there. I had on everything. I had on red and blue. I had on all colors. You know what I'm saying? And I was just like, you niggas cannot be that motherfucking petty with this gang shit that you gonna tell me that I can't wear this color. I wasn't for it. But it wasn't out of violation. I just wasn't here for it. Just wasn't. But I stayed by myself for the most part. Outside of me, going to Lemerck and places where our people might be at. But yeah. So with that, orange and blue laces, right? They 44 resonators. Right? Interestingly, like when I adopted the name Blue Pill, that's when like Obama was out on his 44 shit, and I was around Nip. So I was like, two African niggas with this blue shit on, or resonating with blue, because the Democrats is blue. I was like, okay, the blue pill, but I'm not crippin', and I ain't a Democrat. So, with that being said, y'all, I want to say thank you. Catch us. We're gonna be on later. I just had to get this out of my system because I don't want to be coming on with the master teachers and be talking about tea around them and shit. So this is my low tea hour. You feel me? Yeah. I met Copy Supreme. I met all of the Slauson boys. You know what I'm saying? All of the Slauson boys initially was with Nip. Fats. I met both Fats. I met Tiny Draws and Big Draws. Like, Big U was his manager at the time. So Big U would go... Big U was the one who had to give us clearance to come and shoot in the 60s. We did a documentary for Nipsey. The first people to shoot in the 60s ever. Turned Up is the name of the documentary. Google it. Hold on, let me write this down for y'all. Because it's a good one, too. It was 3 parts. We did 1 million views on WorldStar. 24 hours. All 3 times, too. Shout out to Q. May he rest in peace. We ain't paid for views. Didn't have a budget for it. It was all organic. That's why I kind of knew he was a star. Because he had international fanfare. People here didn't necessarily know who he was in 08 and 09. But they loved him in Europe. Like, they loved him internationally. I didn't meet Black Sam. My business partner in this business, which is Street Knowledge, that I did this under, him and Black Sam is hella cool. But Black Sam was locked up during that time that I was out there. And every time I would go to the marathon, the father would be there. I definitely seen Black Sam before. But we ain't ever hanged out. And I didn't go through he was being mobbed when I seen him at InvestFest and shit. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I don't know Black Sam. But Black Sam is definitely, I think that we all need a brother like Black Sam. Yes. I won't accept anything less than that, matter of fact. But I want to be a brother like Black Sam as well. So it's not just I want a brother like Black Sam. I ask myself, am I a brother like Black Sam? And I've sat and thought about this shit. And I'll be like, damn. That's the metric. That's the bar. You wake up every day, if you got siblings, you'd be like, can I be a brother like Black Sam? Especially if you are a man who has a male brother, right? Be like, am I a brother like Black Sam? And it's not healthy always to compare ourselves to other people because we don't know, once again, what the backdrop elements are. But for what we saw on the surface about him putting on for his people and holding up the legacy, suspending his life to continue his brother's legacy, right? That part. Can you do that? Right? Can you hold down the family's legacy? Can you scale and build upon the business? Can you be integral enough where the brand is totally intact? Oh, yeah, they hate him in the 60s. I know about that. But he different. You know what I'm saying? Both of them is different. And that much I knew from the door when I met Son. I was like, this nigga's different. This nigga's different. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Nip. And I do pray that his name and his legacy can remain intact going through all of this. But I know that he's tethered to someone who don't necessarily want to get dirty. And when you got shit to hide, that's when it goes haywire. You feel me? When you got shit to hide, that's when shit go haywire. So hopefully, yes, his brand can survive this intact. And yeah, I'm going to leave it at that. You know what I'm saying? And with that, once again, I want to say thank you. Yeah, he was never gang. That's the thing. He was over there. He was independent. You know what I'm saying? He's an independent. He's an individual. He's a stand-up man. He stands alone. He's a one-man army, a song. Never been taken out. I keep MCs looking out. Yeah, so shout out to the one-man armies out there. I got on turquoise, and this is Cinnabar with coral. And this also, ironically, is Cinnabar with clear crystal with, this is a contraption that Uncle Hanky made, and this chain is made by Ma Jade. Shout out to the jewelers. Oh, then I got coral turquoise on this. I got coral on this, and this is just Ganesha. I don't know what the hell they say this is, but it's just metal. Feel me? Yeah, she was funky. She is funky. Shout out to Ma Jade. Look, I got a reversible chain. You know what I'm saying? I got a reversible. Oh, and this hat, this is Charged Up Noah. Shout out to my family out there in VA. This is Charged Up Noah. And even though the shirt is Tommy, this was structured and designed by my man Gino. He cut the collar off. Like he spiced it up. And then I got these pants on from another melanated designer. You know, I do my best as I can to make sure every day that I'm repping a reputable melanated brand. For all of the free advertisement that I have given to European brands early in my life, I'm very insistent that we support one another. And we have what it takes, yes, to make several fashion statements. And I love melanated designers. You know, yeah, even if I wear a European designer, it has to be remixed. It got to be something that we've done to bring it home, you know. So I wanted to pay homage to this Aries energy. Today is Mars Day. It's a Tuesday. You feel me? Yeah, and I'm gonna leave it at that. You know, once again, I appreciate y'all taking time out of your busy day, hear what I gotta say, you know, just to share these theorems with y'all. You feel me? Yeah. AA is the master of the remix when it comes to these clothing, the aesthetics and clothing and what have you. And yeah, I highly recommend that you guys go and get a piece of his apparel for your collection. It's just like investing in a painting. It's gonna appreciate. It's gonna appreciate. And I appreciate y'all. Thank you. And again, if I've said anything that offends you or makes you feel like totally upset, if you don't understand it, right, you could DM me and I will have a conversation with you to attempt to, as best as I can without making excuses, just tell you what my methodology is, where my mind is at, right? Because I do not intentionally look to harm people with my words, unless I'm looking to intentionally harm people with my words, right? But there's people that get caught in strays when I'm attempting to have a public shootout, right? Sometimes people get hit by strays. So I do apologize for that. But again, you can holler at me and we can remedy it. And I love you and I appreciate you. And put yourself first, right? And do your new moon invocations, Gemini. Communications in your mind. How we make our minds up now determines everything. You're templating the rest of your year by making your mind up now. And one of the most illest things was told to me, I'm going to share this with y'all before I leave. And this shit, it registered in a way that it kind of changed my life. It said, I'm not responsible for fixing the things that I have not broken. I am not responsible for fixing the things that I have not broken. Peace.